You don't lack motivation. You lack command over your own mind. And that single weakness explains why your days feel heavy even when nothing catastrophic is happening. Because from the moment you wake up, your thoughts begin negotiating with reality, resisting it, wishing it were easier, quieter, more favorable to your preferences, and this silent resistance drains more energy than any external obstacle ever could. Marcus Aurelius understood this with brutal clarity, which is why his reflections were never written to impress or teach others, but to restrain himself, to keep his mind from turning against him, because a man can rule an empire and still be defeated internally. And if you spent one uninterrupted hour with those reflections, you would recognize something uncomfortable about yourself. That most of what you call suffering is not imposed from the outside, but manufactured within, assembled by imagination, anticipation, comparison, and the desire to control outcomes that were never yours to command. You replay conversations that have already ended, rehearse conflicts that may never occur, relive mistakes as if repetition could somehow rewrite the past. And while your body remains still, your mind exhausts itself, chasing problems that do not exist yet, which is why you feel tired without having done anything meaningful, because mental disorder feels like effort, even when it produces nothing. And the first truth that wounds the ego is this: your mind is not overworked. It is untrained. It reacts to every impulse like a city without laws where any voice can shout orders and be obeyed. And you mistake this constant noise for depth or sensitivity when it is simply a lack of discipline. Marcus reminded himself that the quality of life is shaped by the quality of thoughts, because every action, hesitation, and avoidance begins as a thought you allow to remain. And if you examine your patterns honestly, you will see how often you delay difficult action and then punish yourself with guilt. How you crave clarity while drowning in distraction. How you say you want peace while obsessing over approval, timing, fairness, and other people's reactions. And the moment of exposure arrives when you admit that you do not truly want control. You want comfort, and comfort slowly reshapes your identity until you become someone who avoids friction, explains instead of acts, and waits for conditions that never arrive, because life does not calm down to give you permission to focus. It remains chaotic, and either you impose order within, or your mind becomes louder and more hostile toward you. This is where the discipline behind Marcus Aurelius's reflections becomes practical rather than philosophical, because the first rule is uncompromisingly simple: separate what belongs to you from what does not. Your thoughts, judgments, intentions, and actions are yours. Everything else exists outside your authority. And the moment you stop arguing with reality, stop demanding that people and events conform to your preferences, you regain an enormous amount of energy, because resistance is expensive and most people spend their lives paying for battles they can never win. The second rule cuts even deeper. Treat every thought like a command, because your behavior inevitably follows the thoughts you entertain. Weak thoughts create weak actions. Resentful thoughts create bitterness. Hesitant thoughts create paralysis. So before believing a thought, you must interrogate it. Ask whether it is useful, whether it is within your control, whether it strengthens or weakens your character. And if it fails the test, you discard it without emotion or negotiation, because not every thought deserves your attention. The third rule removes your final excuse. Act according to principle, not mood, because mood is weather and changes constantly, while principle is structure and remains when motivation disappears, you do not rise to the level of inspiration you feel on good days. You fall to the level of standards you maintain on bad ones. And when you live this way, something subtle but powerful changes. You pause instead of reacting. You create space between stimulus and response, and in that space lives freedom. Weak people ask how they feel about a situation. Disciplined people ask what is required of them by reason and self-respect. And over time, you stop chasing peace because order produces it naturally. You stop needing validation because your standards replace applause. You become predictable to yourself, which is a rare form of power. And this leads to the final truth most people avoid because it removes their favorite escape. No one is coming to save you from your own mind, and that is not a sentence but a release, because it means the solution is already in your possession. And if you are disturbed, it is not the world that troubles you, but your judgment of it. And the moment you live according to that understanding, your life begins to reorganize itself quietly and permanently around discipline rather than impulse.